How come some people continue to win in their career, in their business, while others are not moving as quickly as they ever could be? Today, we're talking to a breakthrough specialist on how to shut down some of the sabotaging tendencies and turn up the dial on your success. Private practice owners, are you ready to rewrite the rules for your practice so you can have more time off, a great team, and more income while delivering better patient care? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to The Provider's Edge TV. I'm your host, Sabrina Rumbach. I'm a provider, an international peak performance keynote speaker, and a best-selling author. My guests and I help providers like you to control your practice, control your life, and control your future. This is your defining moment to be a disruptor in healthcare. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Provider's Edge. Today, we know business owners, especially those of you who own your practice, there are so much you have to deal with, so much on your mind. And when you are already in a level of success, how do you get into the next level and not get into your own way? And this is why I invited Dr. Philip Agrios. He is a business breakthrough strategist, an international speaker, and best-selling author who guides business people worldwide to move from self-sabotage to a self-made success by uncovering an inborn trait that stops their success. He has an amazing story. He actually had been a chiropractor and then had such amazing life changes, and that led him to what he's doing today, supporting the healthcare entrepreneurs and other business around the world. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me over.
So, Doctor, could you share with us a little bit about your background? How did you discover the path and put you on the work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, like you said, I used to be a chiropractor and a functional medicine practitioner. My specialty was thyroid and autoimmune disease. So I've had a insurance-based practice and I had a cash-based practice. So I fully understand the ups and downs of moving from a insurance base to a cash base, and be a lot of challenges, especially in your mindset. So during my 35 years of practice, I used to think way back when, like, why is the practice not doing well? Or why are my kids are doing what they're doing? Why are my patients not doing what I'm asking them to do? Just really simple. Why can't you just follow my instructions? And then during this process, I was placed on this journey after going through a lot of stuff. I went through financial ruin, a horrific divorce. One of my daughters almost committed suicide. I was on disability. I had a thing called thoracic outlet syndrome, caused weakness and numbness in both my arms. I had carpal tunnel in both hands. I used to get out of bed feeling I was walking on glass. And I was in my late 30s, and I had a multidisciplinary clinic. I lost it all. I had a false accusation from insurance companies that I was going to jail. I was going to lose my license and everything else. It was false. But those years were just horrific trying to go out of that. My license was totally clean. Nothing was problematic. Didn't go to jail or anything like that. But it caused me to then become disabled during that process. My father had brain cancer, died 7 months later, and then my mom. So it was a lot of stuff going on, which allowed me to really dive deep within myself, to really bring out something that was inside me that I wasn't looking for. And during the process, I was able to discover a hidden sabotaging trait. We call it the inborn sabotaging trait, because you're born with it, that it actually doesn't undermine you, but it actually stops your success. Because if you actually achieve that success, subconsciously it would be more painful. So you never get to that growth period. And when I first found it, I was like, there's no way, this is too simple. So I went out to try to disprove it. And over 30 years of thousands and thousands of people, I couldn't. And during the process, I was actually able to find a way to switch it off instantly. And it works 100% of the time. Now, I'm from Jersey. You tell me this works 100% of the time, I'm going to say BS. Okay. So, and my reputation being really important to me, I went out to try to disprove that. And to this day, whether you are a multi-billion-dollar company or a child, this works 100% of the time, and it will show you how it affects you, as well as your personal life and your professional life.
Yeah, this concept of identifying self-sabotage has been newly recognized. I think a lot have been talking about, and then just many different models. I learned the concept from positive psychology standpoint, and you also came up with your category as well. It's amazing how we know mind is so powerful and help us to create chaos and also decrease chaos at the same time. And just being us being together, and also definitely taking your quiz to be able to see that. I think for the growth learners, the entrepreneurs, the practice owners, we have the mindset of actually, why do we read? Why do we learn? Why do we even in practice? Why do we grow? Is we wanted to get to the better spot, both for ourselves, for our team, and for our patients. And that's so crucial to be able to have that self-awareness. And could be that we already been on the journey to overcome some of the sabotaging tendency we don't even realize, or we're realizing some pattern, but it's not activating quickly. So it's great for you to be here today to help us break down. So for all the amazing people that you've been able to help and business owner to grow, what are some of the categories that you've been seeing these profiles?
Well, so there's only 3 saboteurs out of 78 billion people. I didn't believe it either. So there's only 3. There's called the director saboteur, the supplier saboteur, and the communicator saboteur. So when you start to release your personal professional power and you start to feel uncomfortable, that saboteur kicks in to protect you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not an idiot, a loser, all the hundreds of words we say to ourselves. You're just in protection. And imagine knowing while you're going into that contracted state to know exactly why that's happening. Use the antidote, which is the exact opposite to the saboteur. So that's why it's impossible to sabotage yourself once you use the antidote. Then you can get past that comfort zone. So instead of doing this, you do that. You're still in the contraction and expansion, just like the heart does, or we're dead. You're always going into an expansion and contraction state. So for instance, we had a doc who had like a less than a 30% closing rate. So those docs out there, you have to close. Well, within 2 weeks, once he realized that what he was doing, and it was actually his superpower that actually was causing him to not close, by using the antidote, it immediately allowed him to do that. And he went into 100% closing rate. I didn't believe it. I said, I want to see the numbers, because he was understanding he was overly giving too much to his patient, trying to overly educate them. But when he understood what he specifically had to do, it immediately shifted. We see that consistently with salespeople. We've had people make $84,000 in a couple of weeks because they realized what they were doing, because they were not using that antidote. And once it's like a seesaw type of thing, there's 3 traits. And once you have that seesaw in more of a balanced state, that's what happens. So we really found out that when you don't close, your saboteur actually is stopping you, because it's more painful to close that person than not.
Right. And then I'm just curious, in that situation, I think we naturally, as service providers, always thinking, I need to pour out. This is why I'm doing this. I needed to be just fixing it. But when we actually load people with a lot more information, they become the paradox of choices, right? You get so overwhelmed that you don't even know what to do. And therefore,
Absolutely.
it causes your patients to be in that overwhelmed state, even though you thought, oh, I was so complete. I just want them to have all the information before they can make a decision. But we have to be able to meet people where they are. So I'm just curious, in that case, for that one doctor, what was the type of saboteur that he had?
He was called a director saboteur. A director saboteur is a person scattered or all over the place. They don't get things complete. They'll get 99% done with something, stop, and then do something that's more fun. The chaos is their friend. Their superpower was communication. They overly communicated. They were just like, I'll do this, and do this. Their energy was scattered because their mind was scattered. And once we started to help them to do specific techniques to help them to stimulate their antidote, they immediately, their communication skill became very specific, and they were able to now close that person very quickly, as well as their communication with their staff. He was having some problems with the staff. And it wasn't the staff, it was really how he was coming about giving them too much information and overwhelming them as well. So this director saboteur is the only one out of the three that needs mindset. The other ones don't, because the other one, called the supplier saboteur, those are the people that overly give, they overly share, they overly supply. They give too much because they focus on everybody else's feelings besides their own. They have a hard time saying no or not now to people. All right, because they think they have to give and not take. They don't feel validated. They don't deserve, they don't value themselves as much. So by doing so, when they do that, they give too much. They have no boundaries. So they don't need mindset. They, what I call is feel set. They need to deal with the gut. As many docs know, there are three brains. There's the brain here, there is the gut brain, and then there's the heart brain. So they're actually found that there are neurites, HeartMath, which is a company, actually found neurites in the heart. So the heart also can work in some areas without the brain's help. So the supplier needs to feel differently. That's their key. That's why mindset doesn't work for them. The communicator saboteur is the person that has a hard time expressing. They cannot detach with their thoughts. They overthink and overfeel too much. That gets just get in the way. You don't know what they're thinking or feeling because they're not expressing it to you. And you just don't know what they're feeling because they don't want to feel stupid or embarrassed. So they pull back and disconnect. So those are the people that really need to understand how to express themselves in a different way that allow them to show their brilliance. And I had a doc one time that he was a communicator saboteur. We had finally, during his staff meetings, he started to actually express to his staff some of the things. And they were coming, this is brilliant, doc, because he never thought what he was saying was brilliant enough. And he didn't want to feel stupid. So he kept it to himself. And due to that, his practice, just by doing that, increased pretty well by just doing that little bit there. So depending on the situation, depending on the person, what they're born with, will in fact cause them to sabotage. Now, you have to realize you will never, ever get rid of this because the saboteur is there to evolve you. See, when you get to be uncomfortable, you're ready to evolve. But because you don't know what to do, you go into a subconscious protection. So what we do is we show you how to use that to your advantage.
Right. And I think it is so crucial in thinking about each separate things. Now, the director they are directing and they are in the position that they feel like they got to do. And I believe a lot of entrepreneurs and the leadership is going to be in that position because you have the vision, you have the ideas, and you constantly coming up one, but how to execute the ideas into reality, take systems, take the right resources, take people, and to be able to streamline that into a way that you can, what you mentioned, antidote, right? Keep yourself on track in a way and not keep saying yes in some of the area that just good to do, but are not necessity to get you where you want. That's really crucial. And then when you mentioned the communicator, is they keep it inside because they're so emotional, they're sensing everything. But we question ourselves in what does that mean? Do I need to be perfect in some way before I even express it? And then to be able to have that communication and trust ourselves that if you hire your team, of course, they're there to support you and they're there to listen to your ideas and to work together. So it would be more beneficial to everybody if they know what you have in your head instead of trying to be a mind reader, which I don't know about you. Nobody can actually do it.
No, I failed that course in college, and you practitioners out there, imagine knowing the saboteur of each of your staff as well as your patients. So you'll actually know how to support them in the way they need to be supported, not in the way you think they need to be supported, which is really how you need to be supported. We've taken low performance employees within a couple of weeks, bring them to a high performers, because now the manager or the doc, the business owners, was able to understand that, oh my goodness, this is the problem. And once they were able to shift that, the person shifted as well. And imagine knowing a saboteur of your potential client. You'll know the resistance, and then now you can bring them to your product or service if that product or service is right for them. Karma's a bitch. So we make sure that you do it if they really truly need it. But these are the things that I teach and many things that I have discovered because we have this course called Transcendence 101 from self-sabotage to self-made success. And in 5 weeks or less, we guarantee you will stop self-sabotage. We had an acupuncturist just 2 months ago, doubled his practice within the 5 weeks. And he was a supplier saboteur because he was always overly giving. And once he started pulling back and knowing how to do that and feel comfortable with it, patients out of nowhere started coming in. People that were, quote, the PETAs, right? The pain in the asses, right? They started going away because he wasn't always trying to keep them because he felt bad. That's not that he was pushing them away. They were just leaving because he shifted. So when you shift your outer world shifts. It's not the other way around. Even the person you can't stand is a part of you. So everything outside of you is you. That person you can't stand is a part of you can't stand. And we see consistently, change your saboteur, use your antidote, change your vibration. Two things happen. That person leaves or they stay and change to stay in your world. And we've had people like out of nowhere, patients would start coming in, doing whatever because they felt different. They were able to do it. And that's where it comes down to there are actually three reasons why we sabotage that we were able to discover.
Yeah, that's a really good segment. Is we actually have to recognize we get into our own way and sometimes we don't even know it. And if you don't know what's happening, of course, you can't course correct and all we see is problems in front of us. And then in healthcare, particularly, we're trained to identify problems. So we're always like, oh, who did that? What happened? Da, da, da. And thinking that's the only way we can prevent something from happening. But we're not realizing how are we perceive the problem, what our tendencies actually are the cause of the backlog, the conflict, the problems. So be able to recognize the sabotaging tendencies and then creating these antidotes is really crucial. So I actually wanted to discuss a little bit more on if you have time, just to break down what could be the antidote for each of them.
Okay. Yeah. Before I get into that, one of the things that crucial that we were able to discover is that you ever see the domino masters, they push the one domino and goes, right? And the last one hits, and let's say balloons are released. That's your imposter syndrome. That's your anxiety, your depression, your stress, everything you see last. Right. So what do? We take our coping methods and do what? We put them on the balloons, not the one domino. What's easier? Hold down the balloons and stop pushing the one damn domino. That's your saboteur. And what was discovered is that saboteur, that one thing, creates all of your negative emotions, all your negative feelings, everything that you don't want. We prove it 100% of the time consistently. So when you push down the saboteur, it goes down the road of frustration. But when you push the antidote, the exact opposite, you go down the road of inspiration and motivation because it's everlasting. And then during that 5-week course, we actually give you one subconscious word that you use that stops all of your goals. So when we show you 5 steps to offset that one word, you have to achieve your goal. We actually prove that to you. So the antidote basically, and they can get this through, we'll talk about the quiz, they can take a 9-question quiz, is that the director saboteur, because they're scattered all over the place, needs to become aware and follow through. So I recently had someone say, well, that's simple. I said, yeah, it's simple. Well, what do? I said, that's what we dive deep into. So you really know as a director saboteur, how to become aware that you're scattered all over the place or you're hyper focused because you waited to the last minute. And then when you finally get something done after 2 days, you go, I got it done. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I didn't really organize my time. And now I got all this other stuff I got to do. And then you go back and forth between scattered and hyper-focused. So becoming aware when you're in those areas and then learning how to follow through with specific steps, then you become less chaotic. So my chaos lets me get things done. I said, yes, but when you use the antidote, you don't need the chaos.
Right. That's just a lie that we tell ourselves that I have to have the chaos to put me into a place that I can focus instead of actually there are much better ways without the stress to do the most productive thing.
Yeah, awesome. We actually see it stimulates the brain because usually director saboteurs have a serotonin or a dopamine deficiency.
Right.
So the supplier saboteur is to value themselves and others, because they don't validate themselves. They're doing all those, giving so much away because they're asking people to please validate me, see how much value I have. But at that moment, they're actually devaluing themselves because they're giving too much away. Your prices are too low. You're not charging enough. You're giving this away for free because you feel that's what you're supposed to do. You're not, because as soon as you do that, you devalue. Therefore, the person's not going to do what you're asking them to do. When I was in the cash practice, I used to charge between $2,500 to $6,800 for my programs. Because I knew what I was doing was changing their lives, but also I was also dealing with business people that they would increase thousands upon thousands of dollars in their business. So you have to realize that as a supplier saboteur, you are okay to receive and be worthy. The communicator saboteur needs to express and to connect to themselves and others. And by learning that, by opening up and telling people what you really believe in, it's an illusion that you think that you're going to be attacked. Sometimes you will, and a lot of times communicator saboteurs are married to superpower communicators that they'll overly talk them. They're like, well, why should I even talk to you? You talk over me, so I'm going to disconnect and go someplace else. So once they realized that, we had a communicator saboteur coach who was going through the program. Within 5 weeks, their relationship skyrocketed because she realized about her sequence of what she was doing and how she was disconnecting, but she also understood her husband. And I was telling her exactly what to do to shift it. And he never knew she was taking the course. So we actually show people how to shift others by shifting themselves.
Yeah, that's very crucial. It's not just about us, it's about recognizing the pattern of others. So
Right.
then you can understand that I can shift myself into the better place to help them to be in that place of synchronicity instead of fighting against each other when you have no idea what's even happening. And I know you've been doing amazing work with all these practitioners and business owners. So how are you able to keep your life balanced and then be able to do all this amazing work?
Because I use my antidote. So I'm a director saboteur. If you told me 10 years ago I'd be this automated, controlled of my emotions, able to get things done, finish through, I think you're out of your mind. So I do what I teach 90 to 95% of the time. Like, well, why not 100%? Because you can't. If I'm doing that 100% of the time, I'm not taking any risks. I'm not expanding. I'm not evolving. So you have to evolve. See, one of the things people don't realize is that we're not here on this earth for everything to go well. Okay. The saboteur, what I was able to discover, is there, like I said, to evolve us because it brings adversity in. And by bringing adversity in, it allows us to get past that sequence and give us the ability to evolve as human beings. So realize that, embrace your adversity. Their gift is there. When you understand your saboteur and you understand the antidote, any adversity that comes to you, you can neutralize very quickly because now you'll see the benefit out of it compared to it being a detriment.
Yes, everything can be turned into a gift or opportunity. And then some, that 1% and that you mentioned, it's something we cannot control. And therefore, we should not be obsessed over them. We can see into the future and the possibilities. So it's amazing that to have you on today and
Thank
to
you.
share these 3 different types. And people can please go to Dr. Phillips' website, take your quiz. He's going to be able to tell you within just a few minutes of what type of saboteur you have, and you can start shifting into that better place, better connecting with your patients, your clients, and really even in your relationship as well. So please share with everyone, what is that link?
Yeah, they can go to SAB quiz. So SAB is short for sabotage, sabquiz.com. So it's sabquiz.com. Please read the instructions. You want to take the quiz as if you were as a child or a teenager, because a lot of times people have gone through therapy and coaching and they answer it as if they are today. That's not what you want. Sometimes it'll be accurate, but it won't. By doing it that way, you'll then see the saboteur. It's only 9 questions. It's not 186. You'll get your antidote as well as your saboteur. And then actually for a limited time, we're actually offering a one-on-one with me, a 30-minute strategy call. Give me your business or personal problem, and I'll show you how your saboteur created that challenge and how to use the antidote to start solving it immediately. So do that quickly because we're going to be getting that off and going to more live webinars. We were doing some experiments with this, but yeah, it's working well, and people are really seeing some tremendous results.
Perfect. Go check out that link and go take your quiz and connect with Dr. Philip. And I appreciate you guys. Until next time. Are you an established owner or executive who has a thriving and successful healthcare practice? We want to hear your story live on the show. Become one of our guest speakers so you can inspire other practitioners like us, arrive as an authority in your field, and connect with thousands of like-minded healthcare leaders who need to hear what you have to say. Apply to be a featured guest speaker on an episode on The Provider's Edge by visiting sabrinarumback.com/interviews.